Okay, so if you go to Algebra 2, you will see, and you go down to Functions Practice, you're going to see there is one more section we're going to cover. We're going to test on Thursday over this stuff this week. So I'm going to put up one very short assignment today and one very short assignment tomorrow. These are like freebies. I mean, this is like free money. This is not hard stuff, but it's important stuff. And so I want to take just a second and remind you how this works, and then I'll turn you loose and let you work and get questions answered. So if I pull up this assignment, here's what it's going to look like. It's broken into a couple parts, 3 parts here. And I want you to notice something about, well, we'll actually do a couple of these, how about? So what about one like this? I want you to kind of take a second and think about this. If the function is graphed below, right, we don't know what the function is this time. We just know it's given to us, it's some function f of x, but we have access to its graph. We don't know what the rule is, right, what the equation is that's associated with the function. But they want us to do this. Based on the graph, f of 0 equals what? And you're trying to fill in the blank. What would we call that process? What do we call that when we're trying to find the value of a function when we plug in a certain input? What's the math word for that?
Graph.
Well, no. In this case, we're using a graph. But what does that mean when we're going to plug in the value? Really, what are we doing here? We're plugging in an input value. In this case, it's a value of x. We're plugging that in. And the answer that we're trying to find here is, this is our shorthand math way of saying what is the value of the function when x equals 0. So what's that process called? This is kind of important. We're not solving something here. What are we doing? That's key. We're trying to find a value. If you had to label this would be under what category of, well, what category is it under?
Evaluating fractions.
Evaluating functions. So that's what we're doing. We're evaluating a function, right? And here's how you remember that, right? What does value mean in math?
Amount.
Amount or number, right? So evaluating is the easiest thing you can do in math about. All you're doing is plugging in a number and finding out what the output is for that number. Couldn't get easier, right? Those are the questions on a test you'd like to see, because you don't have to really do any algebra. You're just plugging in stuff and getting an answer, right? So what about this one then? Based on this graph, f of 0 is what? So I'm plugging in an x value of what?
-5.
Of 0, right? Okay, so if I plug in an x value of 0, really all I've got to do here, is I'm just going to write a vertical line, right, at x equals 0 and look for the intersection of that vertical line with the graph, right? Where does it happen?
4.
At 4. Good, so we're at the point. Whoops, that moved, didn't it?
Yep.
I don't know why I did that. There we go. Okay, so it's at the point with coordinates x equals 0, y equals 4. So my answer is
That.
4. Right? That's the value of the function. We want to know the value of the function. We're asking for a y value, aren't we? We're inputting x values into f of x. And it's outputting y values, right? The value of the function is always equal to y. Okay, make sense? No big deal. So that's what the first section's about. Okay, let's skip down. Oh, and I want to show you something with this. So let's put in the right answer. How about? So if we put in 4, where's my little keyboard here? Right there. So if we put in, it's up top. Oh, there. If we put, oh, come on. There we go. If we put in 4.
It didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work at all, did it? We put in 4. Oh, there we go. finally. If you can believe it, I actually gave like a presentation to teachers on how to use the Promethean board to do some things on Friday at the in-service. You must wonder how that could be sometimes, unless you're stumbling around. Well, you see what this does. I programmed this so it does a couple things. Okay, we got it right, but I'm trying to give you as much as I can. This takes a long time for me, but when I can, I'm trying to give you problems, at least for the first problems you do, that in addition to giving you the telling you if you got the right answer or not, if you get it wrong, what the right answer was, they also give you an example. Okay, so in this case it says, got it right. Now consider some other examples. So this is going to show up whether you get it right or wrong. So if you want to kind of look down there, I think these are good to look at. Say, okay, so what about this example? For this graph, based on the graph, what is f of 7? Well, you can just check yourself. When x is 7, y is 4, it looks like, right? So it goes down and just gives you a quick little graph here that, I don't know why it shows up twice on this one, where it identifies, there's the point, so therefore, when x equals 7, the function has a y value of 4, so the answer is 4. Okay. I'll throw those little examples in. I can't do it every time because it takes so darn long. I'll try to throw them in like for the introductory problem for a section. Okay, so let's go up and look at another one of these. How about something like this? Okay, this is a little different. Look what they're asking for here. They're saying, based on this graph, they give us a function, but they don't tell us what the rule is. They just give us the graph. So we're just going to use the graph to answer this question. They want us to solve the equation f of x equals 5. Okay, what do we do this time?
Go where 5 is, and then
Okay, so am I plugging in an x value of 5?
No.
No, it's different, isn't it? Now we're asking the question, when does f of x equal 5? Well, what's f of x represent? That's not an x value, that's a y value, right?
so you go
So-
up 5 and over?
Yeah, so we're asking the question then, where is our graph? Where does it have a y value of 5? So this time, instead of graphing a vertical line, what are we going to graph? At least in our mind, we're going to graph a horizontal line, yeah.
Is it going to give us 2 answers?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to give us 2 answers, you're right. Okay, so, okay, so now we want to know, where are those intersections? Well, when y is 5, there's an intersection there and an intersection there. What are the coordinates at that point?
4, 5. Can't see.
Yeah, it's 4, 5, you're right, 4, 5. And how about over here?
Negative 4, 5.
Okay, so then what would we write in our answer blank? X equals, if multiple solutions exist. Yeah, okay, so we're going to do negative 4, comma, 4, because we get multiple solutions. Right, does that make sense? Okay, and on this group, I'll include examples, whether you get it right or wrong. Okay, you get the idea though? Okay? What happens with one like, let's see, how about one, I just want to try one more here. So what happens? Let's try that one. What about that one? So I'm looking where the function has a y value of negative 1, right? What would you say?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, yeah. If I graph the line, and think what this line is. I mean, I'm throwing this line in there, but its equation, the equation of a horizontal line is actually just its y value, right? The equation of that line is y equals negative 1. It doesn't intersect the graph at all, so what's my answer?
And it's
An S.
And that's
Yeah,
no solution.
right? Make sense? Okay, so you might be wondering why. I mean, why is such an easy assignment? Well, that's, you should be thankful, first of all. But I know it's an easy assignment, but it's a really important concept. It's something that we're going to do all year long. And you can do it even for much, much harder looking functions later on. And it's a reasonable, I mean, it's a real world strategy that like engineers and, my background's in physics. I mean, we didn't do algebra, intense algebra all the time, like when I was an electrical engineer. We would just solve an equation using technology, right? We'd have to know math to set it up. But once you get the equation set up, lots of times you can find an answer, like an approximate answer rounded to so many decimal places, for example, just by using technology in this way, right? So it really is a valid way to solve problems in the real world. It's just not something we do as much in an algebra class, but we will do it throughout the year, okay? All right, you may go to town.